How would you feel if you were wrongly convicted of a crime and imprisoned? There are people in this world who have been imprisoned for decades from such situations. So today in this video, we are going to talk about few people who were imprisoned for years for a mistake they did not commit and finally proved their innocence. First, we are going to talk about a person called Dunwoody Sanford. He was imprisoned for 9 years on a false murder charge. Dunwoody has been incarcerated for a murder of 4 people. He was just 14 when police found him near the crime scene. After 2 days of interrogation and announced that he had confessed. This young man, who is developmentally impaired and blind in one eye, was forced to confess, even though he is wrongly convicted. And he was sentenced to 39 years of imprisonment without any pardon. The road from convicted killer to wrongly accused in the eye of the justice system took 9 years and seemingly endless and winding appeals process. A hitman already imprisoned for other murders had given police a detailed affidavit saying that he was responsible for the homicide that Sanford, who was sentenced to 37 to 90 years in prison, who took no part of it. Therefore, the court sentenced him to 52 years of imprisonment, and police made the testimony for made him convict that to end this incident as soon as possible. Somehow, this man has been acquitted and released from the court. But due to the careless act of these police officers, this young man lost the most precious 9 years in his life. Next, we talk about a person who spent 16 years in vain for a case of rape. Louis Vegas is the culprit of an incident that took place in the year of 1998. Thus, the most famous teardrop rapist at the time had raped more than 35 women in Los Angeles, USA from 1996 to 2012. So, the only evidence that people who witnessed this incident saw was that this criminal had a teardrop tattoo under one of his eyes. In 1998, after Louis was arrested by the police and brought to justice, the women who were raped confirmed that he was the same person. The reason for confirming that was because of the tattoo that was similar to his tattoo as well. Therefore, the court convicted him and sentenced him to 55 years in prison. But all the time, this person has declared that he is not guilty and he is innocent. After the imprisonment, first he made an appeal, but it was rejected. So he started testing DNA and it was confirmed that the DNA did not match. After 16 years of imprisonment, he was acquitted and released. Next, we are going to talk about a person named Lawrence Minetti, and 62 years old. He is currently living in United States. In 1978, he was accused of entering to a woman's house, stealing a television set from the house, and misbehaving with the women as well. He was sentenced to 115 years in prison for 2 offenses. He thought he would be in jail until he died, but 31 years later, in 2009, the latest DNA report on the crime confirmed that the man who had been sentenced to prison had not even been there at the time of the crime. Afterwards, in June 2019, this person was acquitted and released after serving 21 years sentence. Desperately, they snatched 31 years of this man's life, and in the end, he was only paid $75 as the compensation. After being released in that manner, the person was happy that he was released, but now he has declared that his life is completely over and it is useless. But now his lawyer is once again suing him for $1 million as a compensation. In fact, we will wish him the best of luck for this case. Next, we are going to talk about a person named Wilbert Jones. He was sentenced to life imprisonment in 1971. The court stated that the mistake he had made to give such a punishment was abusing a nurse. But in reality, this person had not done such a thing. However, after the nurse reported the incident to the police brought in a group of suspects to investigate and charge Wilbert with the most suspicious person. According to the reporters, the nurse said that the voice of the person who did this to her was different from the voice of Wilbert, and the height of the two was different as well. But the police did not consider it at all. He was eventually convicted and sentenced to the life imprisonment. But his family continued to say that they still did not accept that he had done such a thing. After 50 years, a group of lawyers proved his innocence and acquitted him. The 69 years old Wilbert has spent half of a century in prison for his life's misdeeds since he was a teenager. As the nurse died in 2008, her husband says she never accepted this. In that sense, the police have deliberately possibly imprisoned this person. Next, we are going to talk about a person named John Kay and lives in Brooklyn. He was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder of a former police officer on his way home from work at age of 14. The 44-year-old John was jailed for 27 years for a crime he did not commit. After all this time, however, he has proven his innocence again. After the court acquitted him, he ran and grabbed the hand of the judge and began to cry. However, the other judges who eventually sentenced him to life imprisonment did not simply apologize for their mistake. He has received compensation to cover the number of days he spent in prison, but anyone should understand that no matter how much he received, he will not be able to make up for that lost life. Next, we are going to talk about a woman named Nurstin Labato. On 8th of July 2001, this 18-year-old girl was sentenced to life imprisonment because she was convicted by the police for the murder of an innocent person. One day, the body of the person who died was found. The day before the incident, someone has tried to threaten her and she used a knife to stab him and escaped from that incident. Only friends have been told and police wasn't aware. Finally, after one of these friends told the police about the incident, the injured person was the one who was presumed to be the dead and she was charged as guilty. However, the girl was sentenced to 16 years in prison. After this young woman had been in prison for some time, the man who had actually stabbed her that day told the police that I was still alive. The court acquitted and released the girl. She had to spend 16 years in prison for a crime she had not committed for nearly 40 years. If you haven't subscribed us yet, subscribe us now. In this video, we talked about some innocent people who were imprisoned for years for crimes they did not commit. When we look at this incident, it is clear that many of these things have happened due to the fault of the police. Before destroying the life of innocent people, the evidences must be thoroughly examined. So let us know in the comment section about which person you think was most unfair. Also, if you think this video is worth for your knowledge, don't forget to like, comment and share. See you soon with a new video. Have a nice day.